So we finished gluing our biscuit joints. We've sanded down any high points of glue that might have accumulated so that we can bring it over to the router here and run it through. What we're doing here is we're going to rabbet out the back side of the picture frame. And if you're confused as to which is the back side, the front side has 45-degree angles on all four corners. And the back side has 45-degree angles on three corners, and then you have the lap joint. So if you get confused, just look for the side that has one corner that's different, and you'll know that's the back corner. Why we're rabbeting the back side out is we are making room for our plastic that is going to go in our picture frame. The dimensions of the plastic is about an 1/8 inch thick. So I'm going to set my router bit to around 3/16 because we've got the 1/8 inch for the plastic that I'm using. It'll be different depending on what your instructor has. And then it gives me, that extra 1/16 gives me room for my backing and my picture to go in there as well. It's going to be about 1/4 inch all the way around so that it has something to rest against. 1/8 inch isn't quite enough. So I have my router bit set up to 3/16 height. I've checked it there. It'll only rabbet out about 1/4 inch all the way around. So when I go to router this, I'm making sure that I have the top side facing up towards me so that I'm routering the right side. And if I were to just run this through, because this is a soft wood and it's hogging out so much material, it would most likely just, if it snags on anything, it'll just tear out along the back side and make it look really bad. So as I am routering this, I'm going to turn it on, and then I'm going to bump into it and then pull it back and then move it down a little bit and bump into it again. And so basically I'm going to bump 3 times along the long side, and then I'll flip it around and bump twice along the short sides and do that all the way around. And what this does is it relieves, it cuts a chunk out of the grain and relieves any of the pressure. That way when I actually go to router all the way along it, if it does snag on anything, it won't tear out all the way along the grain. It'll just tear out until it reaches that point where I made that relief cut. And then I should be able to go all the way around. Once I've cut 3 chunks out of the long sides and 2 chunks out of both the short sides. So we'll go ahead and do that now. So now we're going to clean up the corners to make them 90 degrees, and we're going to need a utility knife, a chisel, and a hammer to do that. So my plastic is going to be cut at 90 degrees, so I need to chisel out these corners so that that plastic will actually fit in. So I've got my hammer and my utility knife and my chisel. But before I do that, I need to mark what I'm actually going to chisel out. So I'm going to grab a speed square and a really sharp pencil, and I'm going to put my speed square against the edge of my frame and then run this edge right up against the edge here and just continue that line till I reach the corner. Then I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to do the same thing here. And just follow that line to the corner. And now I have my marks and I know what I need to chisel out. Okay, so we've marked our lines. We could just take the chisel and go at it because we know where we need to chisel out, but we found that it works better to take a utility knife and just barely score along that line, just gently pushing. You don't want to push too hard. Just very gently go over it a couple times. And this gives something, this gives your chisel a little bit of a seat so that it doesn't accidentally shoot out on you. Some people can have a problem with that. When I am using my utility knife, I don't want to actually bring it out to the edge of the frame because it's really easy to go past. So I'm actually going to spin it to where I'm always pulling my utility knife along the edge of the frame towards the inside. And again, just very gently. It doesn't have to be very deep. It's literally just scoring it so our utility knife, our chisel has something to seat itself in. Then I'm going to take my chisel once I've scored those, and I'll do that on all 4 corners. And I'm going to make sure the flat side is out, facing out. I'm going to set it right in there, line it up with my corner. I don't want to go past or outside of my line. And I don't need to drive this through with one blow. I'm going to just tap it. And I'm going to use I'm going to tap it a couple times to get it as deep as I need it. And then I'm going to flip it around, and I'm just going to work it. One more time this way. And then I'm going to make sure that my angled part is facing down. And I'm going to come along here, and I'm going to go ahead and just pop it out gently. And I can use my utility knife to clean it up a little more. Maybe it needs to go down just a little bit further. Just use whatever tool, switch back and forth between whatever tools you need. So now that I've chiseled out each of the corners, I'm going to just go back through and double check them, because anything that sits up proud in any one of these corners is going to make our plastic sit up proud. It doesn't matter if the rest of this is deeper. If there's a high point, that's going to lift our plastic up. So I want to just make sure that I got everything. It looks like I could get a little more in this corner. So I'm going to go ahead and just adjust what I need to adjust.